explain it because people would understand this, because we've been introduced to other histories but not our own. There was a woman by the name of Helene Blavatsky. She was a Russian. This is in the 1800s, and she was impacted by a black man, by the way. His name is Pascal Beverly. Pascal Randolph Beverly. You talk about Rosicrucian, he the one that brought Rosicrucian to the United States, and he was a lecturer on metaphysics. Check this brother out. He impacted Helene Blavatsky, and she began to get into metaphysics, and she traveled the world, and she ended up in Tibet, and she came back to Europe and came back to Asia, and she brought back what she had found, and she brought back many symbols of Buddhism. And there was a military person in Germany that was impacted by this legacy of what she brought back as it related to Buddhism. And long story short, he overturned the government and he emblazoned his flags, his clothing, everything about him. He was so impacted by this metaphysics and by this concept that he called himself the Führer, which is the German word for Pharaoh. He was impacted by the African world and what they offered, from the Buddhism of the Kushites that went into India to Kemet or Egypt. And he developed a political party, took over the country, emblazoned it, and he started going after African people. The first people, of course, I'm talking about Adolf Hitler. Horrible, evil man. What's not said about Europe is the first people murdered by the Third Reich, by Hitler, were the African and African Americans that remained in Germany after World War I. This is something that's not discussed. The reason why all of the other groups were attacked was because of their relationship to the melanated world. Because remember, Adolf Hitler was not creating a new religion. He was creating a new race. He called it the supreme race. He called it the Aryan race. He would have had a heart attack if he had known that Arius was a black bishop during the time of Constantinople. He would have a heart attack if he knew Arius was a black bishop that escaped into the mountains of Europe and brought his followers with him. They were called Aryans. Many of them African, some of them of other cultures, European also, that followed his religious interpretations of Christianity. Okay. He emblazoned this symbol that came from, originally from Kush, but it's all around the world. If you round it out, it's in Asia, it's called yin yang. But we call it the swastika, the black sign, Schwarze. He did horrible things to people. Horrible things to people. Brought great pain. And everywhere those people saw that pain, felt that pain, experienced the horrific, inhumane treatment that they received, that symbol was emblazoned in their minds. Every time they saw somebody murdered, that symbol was emblazoned in their minds. An evil, dirty man took a beautiful symbol and dirtied it. So no matter how sacred the Gramadan, the yin-yang, the law of opposites, the elliptical galaxy, and all the other things that black sign represented, that swastika represented, if you were to go into a room of people who practice the Jewish faith and drew that on the board, you would immediately have a reaction, because epigenetically, they still associate that symbol with that pain. Well, that's the same thing with the N-word. We can't even say it the way we should. But to understand the N-word and its origins, you'd have to understand language, the development of language, etymology, and phonons and sounds. Inger. You have countries in Africa, Nigeria, Niger. You can go down south, Angola. You have Mandingo. Nga is a sacred sound. It follows the letter M. The letter M is a sacred sound. The letter N and G guide your mouth through a certain process of sounds that bring forward vibrations within the body.